Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Dimitris Moustakis. I am representing the BBioNets consortium on behalf of the American Farm School of Thessaloniki. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's BBioNets Capacity Building webinar, which is titled Building Better Operational Groups. As we get started, I want to briefly share the core mission, the reason that brought us together today. The BBioNets project is an EU-founded thematic network dedicated to boosting the adoption of bio-based technologies in agriculture and in forestry. Our primary goal is to foster a sustainable and circular bioeconomy by relying on promoting and advancing the work carried out by EIP Agri operational groups across Europe. By managing and processing agriculture and forest biomass more effectively, we can address critical challenges like climate resilience, greenhouse gas mitigation, and zero waste farming. OGs are at the heart of grassroots innovation. They bring together farmers, foresters, researchers, and advisors to co-create practical and on-the-ground solutions. However, we also know that setting up, managing, and sustaining these groups comes with its own unique set of institutional, logistical, and financial hurdles. That is exactly why we're here today, to build capacity, share knowledge, and explore how we can support the creation of stronger and more effective OGs. To kick things off, my colleague from the American Farm School and director of the Innovation Hub, Ilias Kalfas, will provide a presentation on the post-2027 CAP framework and its implications for OGs. Understanding this upcoming policy framework is crucial for planning our long-term strategies and securing the necessary funding and structural support. Following that, Hussein Sadek from Monster Technological University in Ireland will present the main findings from the recent BBioNet survey on OGs. This survey gives us direct evidence-based insights into what is currently happening on the ground across our different partner regions. Then we will transition into an interactive panel discussion, which I will have the pleasure of moderating. Together with our panelists, we will dive deep into the common bottlenecks that OGs face, look closely at the available support systems, and outline actionable recommendations to overcome these barriers. Finally, we will wrap up the webinar with some brief closing remarks. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today, for sharing your expertise, and for the commitment to driving bio-based innovation across European rural communities. I think this will be a highly productive and collaborative session. Before I hand over the floor to Ilias, a quick practical note: please ensure your microphones remain muted during the presentations to avoid any background noise. So without further ado, I'm delighted to invite Ilias Kalfas to share his insights on the post-2027 framework. Ilias, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Ilias Kalfas. I'm an agronomist. I have been around about 27 years in this profession in the real economy, and I have the joy to present now the how the operational groups have evolved, and it's more interesting to see how they will go from now on. Just a short comment about the CAP. Our CAP has started as a market and income support for European farmers, and has now evolved into a resilience and transition policy. Keep the word resilience, because it will be the main word, at least for today. Operational groups have started as temporary multi-actor groups that deal with specific problems farmers are facing. They were created in order to give solution, to provide solution to these problems, and they have been evolving in the latest decade and a little bit more from practice problems to resilience. In the previous CAP philosophy, the policy logic was to have farmers, advisors, researchers to solve a problem, and the OG was the test bed for solving this problem. I mean, they had the problem, they provided the test bed, and people were dealing for solving it and create solutions. In the current philosophy, we have managed, in the current period, we have managed to link farmers and advisors and researchers and authorities to improve uptake and evidence, and to have replication, and to provide methodologies that can deal with the problem and similar problems like that. What is expected from now on, which is the most interesting part, is that we need to respond to modern challenges: climate change, water scarcity, market, labor, all the pressures that geopolitics and geoeconomy had brought to our yard. And this is the challenge, and this is the bet at the end of the day. Let's see how the main topics of OGs have evolved during these three distinct, during the two periods that have already been active, and the one that is coming. The one that is coming is our estimates is not something that is officialized and defined exactly. So this is what we get as messages from what we read around the media. In the 2014-2022, we have the situation that people dealing with farming practices. This is more detailed from farming. It was crop tailored, and from now on it moves to farm resilience. So a broader term. About plant production, yes, about 30% of the OGs created in Europe were dealing with plant production and horticulture, let's say more precisely. In the beginning, in the period that we are now, we have crop-specific OGs, and we are moving to climate-resilient crops, to protein crops. We are specializing, following the modern needs or the modern challenges. About the animal husbandry, it was about 1/4 of the operational groups dealt with animal husbandry in the beginning. In the current period, we have the husbandry, the welfare, the feed challenges, the pests and diseases, more specialized topics in the operational groups. And now we are moving to animal health, to welfare, to resilience again, because the competition and all the conditions are very harsh for the people in primary production. About farm competitiveness, it was a term that was really abundant from the beginning. Now we have evolved in the current period into business model and farmer diversification, the farm diversification, and we are now focusing on, we are expecting new OGs to focus in the small and family farms, young farmers, short supply chain, etc. Again, with main topic, the resilience. About food quality, processing, and nutrition, we had from the beginning this kind of OGs. In the current period, we specialized more in food security, safety, quality, processing, and nutrition. And from now on, we are moving to local value chain, market resilience, because this is the challenge. The resilience will be always the challenge in the new CAP and in the new form of OGs. About the supply chain, yes, we had it from the beginning. We continued as a specific monitoring keyword, and now we link the supply chain with labeling, origin, local market, locality in food, and all the added value that is hidden in the niches of the food supply chain, and what differentiates the local food from the mainstream multinational traded food. About the pest and disease control, yes, it was a topic from the beginning. We, in the current season, we separated into plant pest disease control, animal pest disease control, but again, in the new period, we are expecting to integrate them into IPM, biological control, monitoring, climate risk tools, because what we knew about the abundance and the appearance of pests and diseases is going to change following the climate change regime. Fertilizers, fertilization, it was from the beginning. Nowadays, we use the word plant nutrients, but in the future, we are going to use to let's say specialize this in biofertilizers, circular nutrient flows, bio-based solutions. This is where we have been already active, because this will be the trend and this will be the need and this will be the tool to face, let's say, increased production cost and increased competition, at least between Europe and out of Europe input trading. A climate change, it was a very, let's say, not priority issue in the beginning of OG's formation. It has increased and now will be core priority for post-2027 period, because we're already living and facing the impact of climate change. We are not afraid what will happen, because it already happens. At least in our country, heat waves, heat stress, drought is very obvious. Soil, yes, a big issue nowadays. It wasn't a priority in the beginning, but it will be a priority in the post-2027 period. A lot of OGs are expected to be formed and operated regarding soil. Biodiversity and nature, again, an arising issue. It is expected to be central in the post-2027 period. Water management, a very big issue nowadays. There is practically not as much water as we used to utilize for the plant production, and we need to adopt to new techniques, to new maybe crops. But the only certain thing is that we cannot practice the irrigation methodologies we used in the past. Circular economy, again, will be very strong trend in the new era. We have a lot of biomass that is currently being considered as waste. We should put it again in the production cycle. We should valorize it. We should upgrade it into something useful, and not having the cost of handling waste. We should upcycle it. We should give it the value that it contains because of its nature. Equipment and machinery, we have started with farming equipment. Around 10% of OGs had as a topic the equipment. Now we're not anymore talking about equipment, we're talking about connected devices. We're talking about smart farming, we're talking about Internet of Things, robotics, drones, whatever the services they provide. And this is the future, and we are expecting a lot of OGs to be formed around these kind of new evolvements. Forestry, there was a very small portion of OGs in the beginning. It is okay, it has raised, but not enough. But we are now talking about rural bioeconomy, landscape resilience, so forestry will play its role. Energy, again, we are now passing from, we are transitioning from fossil fuels to mainly electric vehicles, electric energy consumption, and we need to make sure that renewable energy and rural energy system will be in place to serve the need for energy in primary production and in the food supply chain. Organic farming, it was a very it was not so prominent in the beginning of OGs. Now it will be important because organic farming will serve all the environmental incentives and all the modern concerns about food quality and about environmental impact of agriculture. Digitalization was not even a term when the OGs started. Now it will be, not only as digital devices, as connected devices, but in terms of artificial intelligence, sensors, digital ecosystem, decision support system, data, farming data, algorithms, independent and automated algorithm advisory systems, etc. We are all living it. It is evolving, and it has already acquired a very big dimension in the real economy today. EKIS service, we all know it. It started when the OG started. There was not even the term. It was only for academic reasons. Now EKIS system will be pioneering the post-2027 information flow, especially the training of young farmers that are already very well familiarized with digital technologies. They all have mobile phones, smartphones, they enter, they download applications, they are trying to do their best. And so this generation is already trained and easily adapted to adopt these technologies and make them part of everyday life. About rural issues and rural social innovation, yes, this wasn't even a term then. Now it will be a strong term. Also the big horizon proposals, everything that is funded by European Union has now a social aspect, and we are already very familiar with these terms, and these terms will be, let's say, will define the winners of OGs. And because it doesn't matter only to have a scientific impact, you should be useful to the society and this is exactly where this will be justified. About generational renewal, we have spent like 20 years in Europe observing that the generation's succession is not complete. We have seen rural areas be emptied of young people, and it will be a major priority from now on. We cannot afford to lose another generation out of farming because they are already very, due to policies applied, they are already very few. So we need all the people in farming to continue if we want to have a farming sector in this continent. And a new also trend is the protein crops. A protein, we have already observed a gap in protein, and they are very useful for the nutrition of people, the nutrition of animals, and the protein crops are gaining a lot of space nowadays in terms of acreage, and will continue because it's a valuable nutrient. I just tried very briefly to make a historic, let's say, review and present how the main terms of OGs have evolved during these years. We have operational groups. We have started from practical problems, and now we are all like in a holistic approach, trying to get what we call with one word resilience. It's not an easy task, but this is the challenge, and this is what we are going to be invited to face. About the priority topics, I have isolated the climate and natural resources, 3 categories: the innovation, digitalization, and circular transition, and the farm and rural resilience. We need the people that inhabit rural areas to continue habit these areas, to stay there and produce in modern terms, living as modern Europeans, but continuing to produce these farming products, the crops we all need for everyday consumption. And as a recipe, if I may, I could suggest that a modern operational group should have the core problem owners, the farmers, the cooperatives, young farmers, all these people that their job is farming. They have the knowledge and technology engine, which are all the scientists that support farming, researchers, universities, innovation facilitators, data analysts, all the academia, and the governance pathway, the brokers, the networks, all these people that will create and implement the policies so that this ecosystem is at the end of the day successful. I hope I was in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elias, for that excellent overview of the post-2027 CAP. Now that we have the policy and priority framework in mind, let's look at how this connects with the reality on the ground. I would like to pass the floor to Hussein Sadeki from Muslim Technological University, who will present the key findings from the BBioNets operational groups survey. Hussein?
Thank you very much, Dimitrios. Just a moment, I share my screen. Sorry, I think I have lost the ability to see my window. I already had it. Can you confirm if you can see my presentation?
No, unfortunately not. We see your desktop.
Sorry.
I would suggest that you open first your presentation on your desktop and then press the share button and choose the appropriate window.
All right. I think I got it. Yeah.
Thank you, Hussein.
It's now in presentation mode.
Yes, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Hossein from MT. And here at MTU, as part of the BBioNets project, we run a survey of operational group projects to see the status of OGs regarding the adoption of bio-based technologies. So to quickly ground us, we have used the term BBT, which stands for bio-based technologies, which are technologies or practices that use non-food feedstock or circularity principles, or both of them, to deliver different products in areas of energy, soil management, animal feed, and wider business uses. So here is what we did in the survey. We asked 15 stakeholders and experts of operational groups across 6 European countries. And this has been done throughout the 9 phases of OG lifecycle. We divided the survey into 2 parts, version A and version B. Version A was targeted the gaps and challenges and also recommendations across OGs, and version B was focusing on the experience of successful countries that they have an established and strong BBT-related OGs. So here you can see the 9 phases of the operational group that we have defined in our project and in the survey. And we asked the stakeholders to define the common challenges in each phase. As you can see, for example, in ideation phase, it's about uncertainty over policy and regulations, and of course, financial risk of preparation proposals in mind. If you go to consortium creation, it's about conflict of interests or mistrust as reported by respondents. Next to engaging with primary producers, it's mostly about the very complicated technical language that farmers might face, and also administrative burdens, and so on, all through the final phase, which is post-project activities, which I've written down that you can see it's mostly very underdeveloped compared to the other phases. And it is believed that the projects might actually lose the value because the post-project continuity can be a continuation of the ideas beyond the OG project. So the 3 challenges that are recurring across all phases is mostly administrative and regulatory burden. As you can see, unfortunately, as OGs are supposed to support smaller and less experienced groups, but this might be a real burden for them. Also, engaging with primary producers, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's about the technical language and the complicacy of the terminology, as well as digital platforms used. Also, post-project continuity, which is itself a phase, but it can also cast shadows on previous phases and also aerial decisions that OG groups might take. So with what I said doesn't mean there is no support. Actually, there is a lot of support available. But to be honest, based on the responses that we received, it's actually uneven. So we can see, for example, in Ireland, there are webinars about bio-based technologies that are available online. And also, the National CAP Network of Ireland provides information and knowledge available about operational groups. And also in Poland, we have the National Rural Network, for short KSO Plus, which provides different groups with workshops and matchmaking and networking, as well as the paying agency providing with templates and guidance. And specifically, an example from the Czech Republic, as we can see, is identification of priority areas, which can help with groups interested in operational groups to come up with ideation. And also at EU-wide scale, we can see that they have provided the EU CAP network info days and matchmakings, and these are supported by the platforms known as ACIS and EU Farm Work. So we can see that there is support, but it's kind of uneven and scattered. Also, stakeholders from these countries have suggested a few recommendations for future improvements of OGs. For example, they have mentioned about structured brokerage that can be dedicated to bioeconomy projects, also preparation and advanced fundings, which could be in the form of vouchers or higher advance payments. Also, it has been suggested that to have simpler and stable rules, and also reaching farmers on the field, because earlier I mentioned that digital capacities might be different for farmers, and also tailored BBT templates. Which are specifically designed for BBT related projects. And also it's about bridging to scale up post-project continuity. So having instruments or brokers or schemes that help projects to scale up beyond the initial OG. So here we can see I mapped these recommended solutions to the rounds of discussions, which will be followed on later on. We can see, for example, the structured brokerage can be discussed in round 1 of question. And then we have reaching farmers in the field, round 2, and all the way to the bridging to scale up in round 4 of discussions, which will be followed later on. So what we can learn from the countries that have already established ecosystem for OGs, these countries include in our survey Italy and Spain. So before that, even these countries have their own problems, which might really be in common with the countries that had just started their OG journey of BBT related projects. So, sorry. We can see that here with established ecosystems, it's also about post-project continuity. Also, they have struggling with the consortium creation. And also it's about expenditure and reporting, financial reporting, and again it's about administrative burdens, and also it's about again the policy and the definitions that we can see. For example, Italy has flagged that definitions and classifications of byproducts could be different and changing over time. So a few examples of the good practices that have been reported by Italy and Spain include the Innova Rurale portal from Italy, which is basically a database of previous OGs, and also it serves as a repository and dissemination platform. In Italy, they also practice having the standardized templates and costs, which helps with consistency across regions. In Spain, they have simplified cost action options, plus the possibility of getting a 50% advance payment. Also, there are possibilities to have for the applicants to use intermediary bodies support services, like the one CNTA, which is, I believe, a Food and Agriculture Development Authority. Please correct me if I'm wrong. They are intermediary bodies helping with the applications, and they have mentoring programs, and also they serve as innovation support services in Spain. So the lessons that Italy and Spain could give to other countries, which have been summarized in 6 items. So they believe that multi-actor approach should be genuine, and farmers should be at the core of projects, not just hosting them. Also, it's about starting early with the smallest ideas that groups might have, and it shouldn't be really amazing or really surprising ideas. And they have also suggested that projects should look at the OGs as a tool to make the area of bioeconomy competitive, rather than seeing them as funding opportunities. And they have also suggested to use and more invest in innovation support services. And they have again stressed on the importance of dissemination efforts. And also they have suggested to connect more nationally and internationally with other projects, of course. So we can see that there are tools and support, and they are not complex or expensive, but what is actually needed is a dedicated investment and commitment to progress the projects. And we have seen that based on the responses, national CAP networks have really the capacity to do so with the tools available and the goals in common. So thanks very much for your attention. That was the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Hussein, so much for all the work you carried out in order for this analysis to be presented to us. It was indeed enlightening. Now we shall proceed with our panel discussion session. Okay. So welcome to our panel discussion. Our panelists would be David Barry from MTU, Luca Colombo from FIRAB, Anna Goldis from CDR, and David Lapuente from BBioNets. A few words about each of our panelists. David Barry works as a researcher at MTU and holds the role of Agricultural Innovation and Engagement Officer with CAP Network Ireland. In this position, he focused on encouraging farmer participation in national and European research programs, while promoting the wide dissemination of project results and the uptake of innovations in the Irish agriculture sector. Additionally, he actively contributes to policy and sector development by sitting on Ireland's Agricultural Knowledge and Innovation System, AKIS, steering and coordination groups, as well as the CBJU Working Group for Primary Producers. Now, Luca Colombo works as a coordinator and researcher at FIRAB, managing various EU and national research and innovation projects. He holds a master's degree in agricultural sciences and has published grey literature, scientific articles, and books on agrobiotech and food security. As a TEP organics expert, his research focuses on organic and biodynamic farming, agroecological approaches, cultivated biodiversity, food sovereignty, and co-innovation processes, having also served in 2013 as the Global Civil Society member of the Ad Hoc Technical Selection Committee for the UN-led World Committee on Food Security's Steering Committee. Anna Goldis represents the Agricultural Advisory Center in Brno, hope I'm saying it right, within the Department of Innovation in Agriculture, serving as an innovation broker and senior project specialist. In this capacity, she supports knowledge transfer, innovation uptake, and multi-actor cooperation while coordinating several Horizon Europe projects, including AquaGreen, Advisory, NetPest, and Soil Exchange. Through CDR, she supports the development of Poland's agricultural knowledge and innovation system, AKIS, of course, and assists the National Rural Network, manages the national network of demonstration farms, and facilitates the creation of EIP agri-operational groups among farmers. Last but not least, David Lapuente Pinilla works as a project manager at the Spanish Technological Platform for Plant Biotechnology, BBioNets, an organization that groups different companies and research bodies related to the agri-food sector. He holds a degree in biology from the University of León and completed his master's degree in plant biology at the Complutense University of Madrid. In his current professional role, he leverages his academic background in plant sciences to manage innovative projects and foster collaboration between research institutions and private enterprises within the agricultural and technology field. Now, we sort of like group the 4 rounds of discussion according to the stages of an OG project. First comes the ideation, and you have an idea to form the consortium for us to implement a project. Then we try to engage mostly prime producers because other people are more sort of like familiarized with the process. And then we have to implement the project, which also brings the administration, the administrative burden, but also the on-field implementation. And after each project ends, we have sort of like our obligation to disseminate its intent and ensure its continuation. Now, may I address to Luca, because I was informed last night that, Luca, you have some time constraints and you won't be able to sort of like be with us throughout the whole session. Is this right?
Yes, thank you very much, and apologies for these constraints. But I'm in a meeting, so I'm happy to contribute to your webinar, but I have to just leave after my presentation. So apologies for this.
Okay. So I suppose that it's okay with all panelists for Luca to sort of like have his questions asked all at once.
Of course.
Okay. So thank you. Since I don't know, Luca, your questions by heart, let's start with the first one, which corresponds to the first stage of knowledge creation. Italian ecosystems emphasize the role of regional intermediary structures, and so how vital are these local layers in building early trust between primary producers, industry, and academia during consortium building?
Well, thank you. Let me first stress the point that Italy adopted the operational groups scheme with a lot of eagerness. We exceeded the target for the past planning period overall as a country. And FIRA, my organization, contributed in participating in 9 operational groups in different regions and on different topics, of course. And in this respect, we acted as innovation broker for a few projects or as a scientific partner. And in our experience, the mediation, not only in, let's say, facilitating the content flow and so having the innovation, let's say, diversity that was needed in an operational group, but also in mediating the internal dynamic of the operational group, and also sometimes also mediating the relationship with the local authority or the regional body that is funding the innovation activity. So I think this is a strategic role, which is not perfectly designed for the time being, at least in Italy. So we don't have any, let's say, profiling of the innovation broker. And so this is also a sort of learning by doing for the actors that engage in this role. But I would stress the point that this is crucial for ensuring, let's say, a safe space for the innovation implementation. That's my first remark on this question.
Thank you, Dad. So I suppose in the future we'll probably see this sort of like ecosystem layers being more effective, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think in the operational group initiatives, there are several interfaces. One is internal in the group. A second one is with the funding agency, but also with the broader context, the broader ecosystem. And so we actually try also to let's say adopt different, let's say, dynamics in the participatory dynamic, meaning that, for instance, in one operational group, we tried also to expand it through the Living Lab dynamics in order to engage a broader set of actors and stakeholders in the territory, which provides, let's say, a greater enabling environment for the innovation to be adopted in a later moment.
So suppose this pretty much answers the second question, like about the multi-actor approach, or there is more to be added on this?
Well, I think in this respect, it's very important that because the question is also dealing with how we engage in our project, but we generally intend to engage farmers and the economic operators that are involved in the operational groups. And I think this is a key issue because in many cases we witness that this engagement is not necessarily that genuine. Sometimes there is a sort of marginal role of the farmers, despite the fact that they are knowledge holders on one side and they are the ultimate, let's say, beneficiary of the innovation that is being developed. And so, but sometimes projects are not built including their viewpoint on one side, and there is a, let's say, shallow engagement in the design of the project, while they should have a more critical role in designing, implementing, and also validating the innovation at the end of the cycle. So I think that's very crucial, and more efforts should be done by the entire innovation system to make sure that there is a more genuine engagement of farmers in particular, which are often a weak link in the process.
Thank you so much about that. Luca, now, regulatory ambiguities regarding waste and byproduct classification often create massive hazards during project execution. How can we protect and support OGs when novel bio-based technologies outpace slow-moving national legislation?
Well, in our operational groups, we do not have, let's say, hands-on experience on bio-based technologies or innovations. We were working on different topics, but at the same time, given that this is dealing also with the administrative burdens or let's say, misfunctional legal framework or normal regulatory frameworks. So this is a very important issue as well. And we noticed that sometimes there is, let's say, a genuine intention in the public administration to to make sure that farmers have a central role and they are, let's say, a dominus in the setting up of the operational group, while this will at the end result in a heavy burden for the farmers because they have to deal and be in the primary interface with the administration in dealing and managing the bureaucracy around the project. And this is really unbearable in most cases. And so farmers have to rely on external services. This may have serious implications, or including in relational aspects. They do not have, let's say, they are not in power, actually, even though they have the responsibilities vis-a-vis the public administration. So this generates tensions and sometimes also important difficulties in dealing with the complex administrative procedures.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that, Kulob. We face the same difficulties, I think, in all countries. We're familiar with that situation. Last but not least for you, Luca. It seems that centralized national portals and databases serve as vital knowledge repositories. How can networks actively use these tools to foster cross-border collaboration and connect national OGs with wider EU programs?
Well, let me first say that we convincingly worked on operational groups since the establishment. I mean, since the AIP Agri was implemented, because we thought that this could play a critical role in getting closer to the territories, to work closely with farmers and let's say, on one side, building on the ingenuity of those farmers and their know-how in many processes, and on the other side, trying to, let's say, respond to their needs and to the questions that were arising on a territory. So we thought that this could be a very valid, let's say, scheme for bringing knowledge, innovation, and research closer to the beneficiaries on one side, but to the territories and engaging in different stakeholders in this respect. We have some frustrations, I have to admit, in this respect, because sometimes the bureaucratic burden is too heavy, and so the innovation is not flying at the speed and the height it should deserve. But at the same time, we thought that the dynamic relationship between operational groups and European projects. We are involved in several Horizon projects, but not just the Horizon project. Also, we are involved in the agroecology partnership. And so there can be a sort of mutual learning opportunity, but also ensuring a sort of passing the baton of the innovation and research chain to one to another. I mean, having operational groups feeding and nurturing EU research projects, while at the same time trying to translate the research activities and the research results into innovation opportunities for the operational groups. So we are trying to ensure the link between these two layers, and this proves to be often very effective, and is also resulting in appreciation by the funding agencies, because they do see the value of having a broader ecosystem of innovation and research being involved, and the transmission chain for these projects across research and innovation. So this is something that I would strongly recommend to build when designing projects.
Luca, thank you so much for your valuable inputs. We hope that in the near future we'll have the time and the pleasure to discuss with you with not such tight time constraints. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we'll start over again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
It was a pleasure. Okay. Allow me to sort of like reshare my presentation. So suppose you can see the first round of our questions. Now, since both of the gentlemen are named David, I decided to have the country's name written in each question, so there wouldn't be any sort of like misunderstandings. So we start with Dave from Ireland. Dave, nice to have you here with us. Now, from your experience, how crucial is providing dedicated financial support during the initial preparation stage, the so-called valley of death, to help smaller, less experienced groups overcome early risks and align with bioeconomy goals?
Thanks, Demetrius. Good question. And thanks for the opportunity to talk to you this morning. So I suppose in Ireland, we would view financial support as among a suite of measures that would help kind of less experienced operational groups to get up and running. In the Irish example, the managing authority, the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, they provided a coordinator support fund of up to €10,000 in the last round for projects that were successful through the phase 1 application. So, and kind of eligible funds are the kind of standard things: travel, say buyout of hours, and then some professional services like writing assistance, and some graphic design and some reviewing. And just to note, CHAGS, the national body for providing integrated research and advisory services, were not allowed to apply for this support fund. It kind of gave the smaller groups a bit of a leg up as well then when they were competing against CHAGS. I suppose some of the things, as a reviewer, you notice there was an improved standard of application. So that's a nice thing to see, that you don't have to look at kind of poorly formatted applications. And then I suppose we're quite a small country as well. So after the RDP EIPs, when we removed the 57 ones we had there was a lot of knowledge, drained from kind of potential EIP applicants. So we kind of had to build them back up as well. So the coordinator support fund was just one of a number of kind of tools that the managing authority had to kind of release and make available, to kind of grow the capacity of those applying. And another thing as well we found out is when the operational groups retained professional services for, say, grant writing, it actually opened doors as well then, because the professional companies introduced them to research performing organizations as well. So it was almost, it was a good opportunity, and a lot of the operational groups added to their group at this stage as well. And then I suppose from a realistic point of view as well, the applications we received were definitely more professional, but they were more realistic. And I suppose what the group said they were going to do was definitely more achievable. And we used that as one of the criteria as well for assessing the applications. So kind of made it harder to separate the good ones from the very good ones and the exceptional ones, but it definitely worked. So that's kind of really how important we felt it is. As kind of Luca mentioned earlier as well, it's kind of it's hard to get farmers involved sometimes. And some of the groups then had really innovative ideas using the fund to maybe host a farmer's breakfast or something like that, and to kind of improve kind of farmer engagement at the early stage of, putting the application together. And then just one final point on that as well is we never, if a project was unsuccessful in phase 2 but had drawn down the fund, we didn't consider that a waste of funding. So what we did was the national network ourselves and also the managing authority, we kind of assisted the projects then to repurpose these very professionally prepared applications for other funds as well. So they may be applied for LIFE or some Peace Plus cross-border funding in Ireland as well. And we've kind of seen a little bit of success with that as well. So that's to be remembered too, that it's never wasted funding.
Thank you, Dave. Now we will welcome the lady of the panel, Anna. Anna, how can national networks and advisory centers help partners choose bio-based innovation over traditional, safer practices?
It won't be surprising that in Poland, the fear of regulatory complexity is very big. I know that it's big in all the European countries, but in Poland, farmers and entrepreneurs are really afraid of the bureaucracy. So, and for many farmers, bio-based innovation is perceived as more risky than conventional investments, because it involves new value chains, biomass utilization, some environmental requirements, and still unfamiliar technologies. So we, as CDR Agricultural Advisory Center, we cooperate with 16 regional advisory center. In every voivodeship in Poland, we have this one regional advisory center, and in every center we have national innovation brokers and coordinators of innovation network in agriculture. And it's very good base for implementing help for those who are afraid of some regulations. So we need to be these risk translators, I guess, and the role is to go beyond dissemination, disseminating calls and this regulation. They should, innovation brokers and coordinators of the network, they should help stakeholders understand whether an idea fits the intervention logic, which partners are needed in the consortium, and what compliance obligations are realistically expected. We have this experience from operational groups in Poland that shows that many concerns of consortiums are based on uncertainty rather than actual barriers. So innovation brokers should provide this hands-on support during consortium building, proposal preparation, and also implementation, planning, implementation, and implementation itself. They are particularly important because they help national innovation brokers. They help to connect farmers, research advisors. That would not be cooperating without their help. I think that very critical, it's quite obvious, but I think I need to mention that critical aspect is demonstrating successful examples. The stakeholders are far more willing to be engaged in bioeconomy projects when they see functioning solutions. And finally, we have these hubs, BioEast, BioEats app, and BioEco app, and they offer a framework for long-term collaboration. And they transform this isolated project into pathway. And the more predictable the ecosystem becomes, the easier is for stakeholders to choose innovative bio-based solutions over these traditional approaches.
So it's also about, as far as I perceive it, like building trust and sort of like having the right argument to convince farmers that they have every right sort of like to engage in bio-based innovations.
That's right.
Thank you so much about that, Anna. Now, David from Spain, so I see you.
I'm here. Good morning.
Hi, David. Nice to see you. Welcome to our panel and to our session as well. Now, we will close the first round with you. Now, Spain has successfully utilized dedicated innovation agents or brokers. How can other countries effectively implement this role to professionalize proposals and bridge conflicting stakeholder interests?
Okay, so good morning, everybody, again, and thanks for the invitation. So, going to the question, if we want to talk about innovation agents, and we do it like in terms of Spain, I would actually like to highlight one example, because here in the Comunidad Valenciana, which is this region in the Mediterranean coast of the country, they actually have a program which is called InnoAgents, which is pretty much about this, because these InnoAgents are actually specialized technical staff, and they're responsible for promoting the exploitation of knowledge and technology transfer from universities, research institutions, technology centers, and that kind of entities. So their objective is pretty much to foster connections between the scientific and technological and business spheres, and they promote this collaboration at this technological level. So, agents, they actually constitute a network of innovation agents, and they are actually paid by the AVI, which is the Innovation Agency of Valencia, and they started in 2018, and in these 8 years already, they have already more than 50 members in different organizations in this region of Spain, which is not the whole country, obviously. And I have to say that we have collaborated with some of them in BioNets. Like, for example, there's one of them, Laura Zacares is her name, in the Institute of Plant Molecular and Cellular Biology in Valencia. And we celebrated an event last month in May. And we actually had together nearly 300 people to stimulate technology transfer in between this specific center and all the companies in the region around. So it's been pretty useful. And if we talk about these agents, I would also like to highlight the role of BioNets, which is the entity that I do represent, which is the plant biotechnology platform, because I think that we are also an effective agent for generating projects. Our platform, for those of you who don't know it, focuses on improving the sector's competitiveness through the development of technologies which come from plant biology, of course. And to this end, what we do is that we bring together entities from the agri-food sector, and we connect the supply and the demand for technology, trying to generate business opportunities through this science industry collaboration. So we pretty much act as an interface in between academia and business, in between these two communities, and the government as well. So we offer tools to facilitate these R&D&I activities for our members, because after all, we are an association. So therefore, we act as a connector, as a mediator, paying special attention, obviously, to confidentiality and these conflicts of interest that might arise in between the different parties, because after all, we work with companies that are competitive between each other. But I wanted also to give you BioNets as a second example for this question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, let's move to the second round, where we sort of start again with you, David, which is the second round is about the genuine engagement of primary producers. Now, in Spain, small and primary producers face heavy economic and administrative barriers to entry. What strategies do you propose to truly empower and motivate them to take on active or leadership roles within the consortium?
Okay, I guess this one is not as easy as the previous one, I might say, but I guess if the goal is to empower and motivate these small producers to participate in this type of projects, I personally believe that maybe the best strategy is to show them like examples, of real examples of traditional companies that have taken an active role in innovation, because they can see it as these companies who have done it already, they have seen innovation as an essential business strategy to ensure their competitiveness. So maybe showing these real examples to these companies or these small producers that haven't yet taken this risk or this path, and showing them that they can be supported, for example, by BioNets, or not only us, but other similar organizations in Spain and other countries. Maybe this could help to educate them, or to motivate them to try this approach. But in this sense, if we talk about operational groups, I think it's like it can be a good opportunity for these small producers to gain or to try their first experience in this R&D&I ecosystem, project ecosystem. And I say this because when we talk about operational groups, they actually have some advantages, that can be useful for these small producers. In the first place, because they are not alone, because they participate like with a consortia, with other members, so they are not alone in this first experience. Also, because the funding conditions are quite favorable, because like the grant intensity is quite high. So that's like a second advantage. And then the specific budget of the small producer inside the consortia, it can be tailored. It can be like the one that producer wants, so they can feel maybe a little bit more comfortable taking an active role in the project and taking the risk of the amount of risk they want to assume. But it's also true, on the other hand, I also have to admit that the excessive bureaucracy that has to be with these operational groups, and all the difficulties during the justification process, which is quite complex, as well as the fact of having to advance the payment of the funding that you will get later. That's something that doesn't really help the small producers and also the rest of the entities participating in the project. So maybe another alternative will be to encourage the participation of these small producers in operational groups. Will be pretty much, on the one hand, I have an idea that might be maybe participating through cooperatives where they can gather, not only the consortia of the project, but, cooperatives where small producers can gather and they can participate all together as one entity. That might be one idea. So, just to give you another example of something that could be done. This is done already in some projects. So for these small producers that need like a clue of how to participate in for the first time, this could be one, at least, that we propose from Spain. Thanks again.
Thank you, David. I see at least many similarities with Anna's reasoning in the first question. But before we go to Anna, let's just also go to see the Irish reality and ask Dave that farmers are often short on time or face geographical and digital isolation. What specific methods, such as farm visits or local events, are most effective in making abstract bio-based solutions tangible for them?
Yeah, thanks, Demetrius. So I suppose everyone, there's general consensus that like demonstration is key in this area. And even Anna mentioned earlier how demonstration can help farmers choose like a bio-based innovation. So I suppose we're all clear how important it is. One of the things that's really important is to deal with the farmers themselves and to see what works for them. So if you're, say farm demonstration visits are your chosen method to encourage people to get involved in bio-based innovation, potentially form an operational group to apply for a project. But when you want farmers to be involved, like, you have to be practical. What works for the farmers? They have a really busy schedule. Like, oftentimes as researchers, we'll be at events and we're getting paid, whereas the farmers aren't. So that's kind of a reoccurring theme throughout Europe. So that's one thing, times a day and stuff like that. Like last year, I attended the EU CAP seminar on farm demonstration and peer-to-peer learning. Like, some of the stuff, some of the outcomes of that seminar were like that we had to use clear messaging and how we, portray the message and, transfer the knowledge to different groups as well. That's really important. But then another key point that was raised by a number of attendees was fair remuneration, whether that's paying for travel and subsistence for farmers to attend, or potentially using funding to actually pay them for attendance as well. And trained hosts are really important as well. So the quality of the visit has to be quite high. Think about the size. Like in Ireland, we tend, if there's a peer-to-peer kind of a knowledge exchange visit, no more than 15 people, because there's too many people. Otherwise, it essentially turns into like an open day, and that's a very different concept. And I'm not sure about other member states, but the calendar of events is really busy as well. So I would encourage everybody to try and find relevant projects that are working in the same area and like co-host visits that can help you, number one, get your 10 to 15 farmers. Number two, you can spread the costs as well. And you can potentially host visits in more regionalized areas as well. So bring the visit to the farmer. Like one of our EIPs is currently using their funding for their operational group to actually bring the experts to the individual farmers' farms. So they're bringing the knowledge to the farmer, and the farmer doesn't have to travel. So that's, really working quite well for them as well. And it's kind of switching the whole idea on its head. So that works quite well. And then I suppose finally, if you are bringing farmers to a demonstration event, make sure they get something out of it. You're trying to, keep their cooperation and bring them on a journey with you, potentially in an operational group. So they have to leave that event and feel that they learned something. Follow up with them after the event. Is there anything else you could any other people you could introduce them to, or any knowledge you could share with them, or if they raised a subject and you didn't know something about it, make sure you follow up with them as well. And once you kind of create a network of farmers who are interested, that's potentially a really strong thing. And kind of we find as well, I think the bio-based sector needs to potentially create like national representative groups of farmers who are interested in this, because say regen farming is a big area now, and we've had a couple of very successful operational groups in the regenerative farming area, but they all stemmed from a farmer knowledge transfer group that was set up by the farmers themselves, and they eventually led to a number of successful operational groups. So, potentially a farmer-led knowledge transfer group for bio-based sector might be worthwhile.
Thank you, Dave. We will conclude round 2 with Anna. Anna, how powerful is a peer-to-peer approach in overcoming farmers' apprehension about paperwork and controls?
The peer-to-peer approach in Poland is extremely powerful, but it should be treated like the part of innovation support infrastructure and not the communication activity. So in Poland, farmers still place greater trust in solutions demonstrated by other farmers, which operate under similar production conditions. And still they don't trust information provided through formal channels. Don't trust that much, maybe. This is particularly relevant for in bioeconomy projects, because these projects requires significant changes in farm management, processing practices, and participation in collaborative value chains. So farmers are not only evaluating the technology itself, but they have to assess whether participation is worth the effort. And the effort is always very big, this administrative effort. Operational groups, they are good examples because they are built around cooperation. And farmers, and this is something I observed many times in Poland, the farmers involved in successful projects often become like informal ambassadors of the innovation. And their value lies not only in demonstrating the technical solution, but also, of course, in explaining how they manage these reporting requirements and inspections and cooperation with public institutions. It's really hard in Poland. So in my opinion, farmers should be actively encouraged, of course, and also rewarded for knowledge sharing. Demonstration farms, field days, study visits, local innovation events, they can provide this practical opportunity for peer learning, and it's reduced the perception, and it's it's often something I heard from farmers. It gives them the perception that the innovation projects are not disconnected from these everyday farming realities. Also, experienced farmer can explain how to survive the project, and he's often he's always more convincing than guidance documents. And in Polish context, peer-to-peer learning should be considered a strategic tool. That's because farmers don't trust these official channels. They really trust their colleagues, farmer colleagues most. So we should focus in Poland, not only in Poland, but especially here, focus on rewarding and encouraging farmers from operational groups to disseminate the knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Now I should bring to attention of everyone that time has passed quite fast, so we don't have much time yet left. So please keep your answers as short as possible.
Okay.
Thank you thank you so much about that. Now, Dave from Ireland, Dave Barry. Empirical evidence highlight a potential conflict of interest when institutions handle both project support and formal governance. What is your view on setting up dedicated, independent administrative support structures for new groups?
Yeah, thanks. I'll try and be brief, Dimitri. So, while it is a challenge and sometimes it's been identified as a barrier to getting the projects off the ground, I think it's really important that there's unbiased oversight. I think number one, it gives an opportunity for new entrants into this space, so they don't always see that the same groups have, they administer operational groups, and that's a barrier for a new group to enter as well. So I think that's really important as well. And then just when the same institution is handling both funding and support and then governance, there is a risk there as well. We have to remember that, this is a contract, it's a tender to carry out the work of the operational group, and you're obliged to carry that out. And I suppose if you're assessing yourself doing it, there's a bit of a risk there as well. I suppose one of the ways we overcame this in Ireland is we don't have shorter EIPs anymore. Like in the last call in the 2014 to 2022, we had 1 year, 18-month EIPs. We just don't do that anymore. Minimum amount of time is between 3 and 5 years. And then the lowest budget we have is currently 330,000. So for their larger projects, so while it does, every project takes a couple of 3 to 6 months to get up and running, but at least you still have the kind of 30 months to get it going. So that's kind of one really good way to overcome it as well. And I suppose that's kind of, the simplest thing. And then other than that as well is, say, as a national network, we can provide support as well. So while we require the operational groups to set up a company limited guarantee, we can guide them through that process. And then we create common reporting templates, common communication templates. So if you give the groups all these other supports as well, it can definitely help them get up and running.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave, so much. Now, Anna, regarding the stress and the anxiety of farmers, which might be not only financial, but also administrative, to what extent do simplified cost options and lump sums reduce administrative anxiety?
To keep it short, it's significantly reduced administrative anxiety. We had 2 calls dedicated for operational groups, but it was not a typical operational group. It was consisting only of farmers, at least 5 in a group, and they were supposed to create short food supply chain, and it was a lump sum. And these 2 calls turned out to be very, very successful, and there was and still are more than 200 of these operational groups, and it was really visible that the change of the financing stuff, this lump sum gives them this comfort that they can focus not on bureaucracy, but on the outcomes, on the goals. So it was really clear that we need this. And also we have now in this CAP some lump sum when the project for operational groups is costs less, and also a lump sum for preparation and creation of operational groups. It's from bioeconomy perspective, this financing is simplified financing is very important because many innovative projects involve small actors and they have limited administrative capacity. So yes, it's reduced anxiety a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, indeed. David, financial instruments like advance payments can directly address the cash flow challenges that stall projects. How critical is this financial flexibility for the viability and success of smaller farmer-led groups?
Well, in this case, I think the answer might be actually in the question itself, right? Because we understand that cash flow pressures are inherent to business activity. But if we talk about R&D and I, again, about innovation, companies, they have to assume like even bigger or greater risks. So that's why we think like this support is even more necessary. And if we talk about operational groups with small producers, this is even more necessary. So going straight to the point, since we don't have a lot of time, I think it should be like the ideal solution will be that, you know, the members of the project can get the funds before they start executing the project, because this is a huge issue for small producers. But I would like to say that it is also for other members, especially as well for public research institutions, because they normally have like a lot of difficulties, at least here in Spain, when applying for these projects, because they don't always have the means to advance these funds before executing the project. There are also other tools, by the way, that might be like these cascade funding opportunities or tax lease or investment fund activities. But the main one should be, in my opinion, that they can get the funds before starting the project.
Thank you, David. Thank you all for being so brief now. Now, last question. David, it's you again, which is about the last rounds about the continuity and the effective destination of the project. Moving from bio-based solutions from successful pilots to real commercial deployment is a major structural bottleneck. What strategies, such as fast-track market consulting or scaling instruments, are needed to bridge this gap?
Well, we actually have other examples of funding opportunities that help with this gap. I actually brought like 2 examples. I'm just going to give you like a really short idea of each one. One of them comes from the Spanish National Research Council, and they pretty much have a call, which is obviously related to really high technology readiness levels. And this program includes different services like mentoring, strategy, consulting, practical training, promotion. So I think it could be really useful for trying to, or for covering this gap that we are talking about. There's also another one that comes from the Agencia Estatal de Investigación, I'm translating right now, the National Research Agency, and in this case it's called Proof of Concept. And these projects, they aim to finance with this call projects that accelerate the transfer of knowledge and the results generated in ongoing projects or projects coming from our calls. So in these 2 examples that I just told you about, the point is that, you know, that they reverse the roles in some way, because it can be the research groups or the research institutions subcontracting companies to carry out proof of concept tests, and in some way like sharing the risk in between the public and the private sector.
Thank you, David. Now, Anna, I think this is a question that is not only related to OGs, but how can communication packages be structured so that project outputs become local evidence farmers can trust?
We have still in Poland these communication activities focused on website, brochures, videos, and these reports, project reports. And of course, as I said, farmers tend to trust local evidence. So to be very specific, I think that a simple, there should be one principle. For one project, we need one local proof of concept, and every publicly funded innovation should leave behind a visible demonstration site, a trained advisor, this farmer champion, and also this practical implementation package for all the farmers who would like to implement the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And the last question for our panel is to Dave. Fitting practical project results back into national policy development remains a weak area. What mechanisms can national CAP networks build to ensure that grassroots innovations reach political decision makers?
Thanks, Dimitri. So just briefly, I suppose I feel this is the responsibility of the operational groups, the National CAP Network and the Managing Authority. And so in Ireland, one of the things we did was we worked with the Managing Authority when we were actually wording the calls for the operational group projects. So we worded the calls so the groups had to think about, incorporating realistic innovations that were scalable and transferable when they were writing their applications. That's the first thing. And then also we put that into the reporting template. So each 6-month period, they have to actually identify an innovation that could potentially be scalable out of their project. And then the operational groups need to take a bit of responsibility to themselves as well. Like, the innovations that they develop, they have to be realistic about them as well and try and think about their wider application in agriculture or bio-based technologies, whatever, in the country. And then another thing as well is we try and incorporate operational groups into the national ACUS. So to date, we have had a number of operational groups either join panel discussions or give keynote speeches at our ACUS coordination group meetings as well. So it's incorporating them into the wider solution. We encourage the operational groups as well to develop things like continual professional development training for advisors, or potentially to develop modules that can be incorporated into undergraduate degree programs as well through the work they're doing. So that's kind of really helping. And then we're really lucky in Ireland as well. The Managing Authority are really well connected with ourselves and with the EIPs. So they're happy. They want us to work. So we get paid to review the innovations from the EIP operational group projects and then see how they could be mainstreamed into funding for the Managing Authority. So it's called a CAP Network Ireland Innovation Hub, and that's a really effective tool. And we've had some key examples of this happening as well. So we can demonstrate to the operational groups that this has happened in the past as well, which is key. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thank you to all our panelists, Luca, Anna, Dave, and David. Now, I think it's time for our concluding remarks. I don't know if Elias, since we're running out of time, would like to have a final closing remark for all of the session. Elias?
Yeah. Hello. First of all, a very big thank you to all of you, our special guests that gave us the perspective and the insight and enlightened us about what is happening in Spain, Poland, Ireland, and Italy. A concluding remark is that we are very different and at the same time we are very similar, hearing to the problems, to the perspectives, everything. Briefly, I would like to say that we should de-risk the initial phase and build real trust with the OGs and the people that come together to find common solution. We need to have the multi-actor approach and to be a real multi-actor approach, not just cold assemblies of people that just take part in a specific project. The ambassador farmers is very good idea, and we implement it in our actions. Farmers trust more another farmer than the local or European or national politicians. It's natural. They consider, and it is like that they are one of them. We should eliminate the structural bottlenecks of bureaucracy. And I mean, a farmer is a farmer. They need to farm, not to complete forms and submit paperwork and for all the funding and all the related procedures. And finally, we need a clear pathway to scale up and fit national policy. Policy is the foundation. If you, the captains of this effort should steer the ship where it has to go. So we need to bridge the commercial gap. We need to adopt to fast-track market consulting models like the Spain TRL Boost, for example, and to have OGs develop business roadmaps and to contribute directly to what is called real economy. I hope that the AKIS coordination group and the AKIS system will contribute its maximum potential, which is a lot, and we can expect great things to happen in the near future. So the road to post-2027 success relies on financial flexibility, early finances of the relevant project, innovation agents that are not neutral and just want to play their roles, farmers' active participation in the co-design and all the problem-solving roadmaps, and of course, all the rural community to be integrated in what the effort is every time. Thank you all very much for this masterclass and for your contribution. It was very, very significant.
Thank you, Elias. Now, I think it's been quite an interesting session meeting. I've learned quite a few things. I hope the same about you. I'd like to thank Hussein, who has done incredible work on preparing and presenting the OG survey on behalf of the BBioNets project. Luca, David, Dave, and Anna. I should have mentioned Anna first because ladies first, but in your case, last but not least. And definitely Elias for sharing their insights in this session. And of course, I want to thank you, all of you who participated patiently in this session. BBioNets is reaching its final stages of implementation, but I think it still has a lot to offer. And Daphne has raised her hand and she would like a remark. Daphne?
Yes, thank you, Dimitris. I would like to ask if we could take a group photo, perhaps for the reporting purposes of the project. So if anyone wants to be included, please open your camera. Otherwise, please keep it closed. And let me take the screenshot, so smile. Just one more second, please. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.